Today we read from the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 8, verse 18 through to chapter 9, verse 11. Jeremiah lived through some terrible times as his country was attacked by an aggressive invading force, defeated and destroyed. The population was scattered far and wide, and all those of consequence forcibly removed to a foreign land. Does this sound at all familiar? It's remarkable how modern and relevant this theme seems today. And it makes one wonder, does anything ever change in the world? Does the human race never learn a single lesson about living together? But in the midst of it all, Jeremiah wrote some sublime poetry, pouring out grief. Some of his words have become well known. The harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Oh, that my head were a spring of water, my eyes a fountain of tears. Prophets spoke God's words in the first person, and sometimes they moved from their own words to God's words almost imperceptibly, so strongly did they identify with God's views on events in their time. These words are God's mourning, God's weeping over the terrible events and the dreadful suffering of the people. God is weeping, God is mourning, God is inconsolable. The root of all their suffering is traced to one simple ill. They refuse to know me, says the Lord. Refusing to know God includes every action which contradicts the nature of God, whose character was revealed through the covenant, a God of love and mercy, of justice and faithfulness. The people of that God ought to show those qualities, to live by them. Otherwise, they are denying their God. Imagine what a difference it would make in the world if every human being lived by those qualities: love and mercy, justice and faithfulness. Indeed, there would be a great deal less mourning and crying, less innocent suffering and conflict. Last week in Thought for the Week, I spoke about the question, why does God allow this to happen? A question which naturally comes to our minds whenever we see wrong being done, the vulnerable being hurt, children injured or killed. One of the answers is these words of Jeremiah, who saw into the heart of the Almighty and how it bleeds for these people. In the Christian era, we can think of Jesus, who lived a fully human life and suffered rejection, torture and execution at the hands of evil. We think of him as identifying in the closest possible way with the suffering of the human race. Christians believe that was God on the cross, that we did that to God. I also mentioned that God delegates the business of justice in human dealings to us. God has equipped us to know what is right and expects us to work to establish justice in the world. That we constantly fail to do this is, according to Jeremiah, a source of great grief for God. But remarkably, God does not give up on us. Jeremiah says, "Oh, that I might leave my people and go away from them." It's almost too much, this constant betrayal. But God does not abandon us. Thus says the Lord of hosts, "I will refine and test them. For what else can I do with my sinful people?" How will we respond to the test? How will the nations react to the Ukraine crisis? Will we ever learn to establish lasting peace between the nations, agree to live in cooperation, share the world's resources, support each other to ensure a decent standard of living for all? It sounds like an impossible utopian dream, doesn't it? Yet all it would take is for each of us to know God, to act in harmony with that divine nature of love and mercy, justice and goodness. God has done all he can. The choices are up to us.